What's up everybody, Benny, Kendrick BBQ here. I just want to do a quick tutorial video on taking pork spare ribs and turning them into St. Louis ribs. All that means is a St. Louis rib comes from pork spare ribs, and it's how uniform it is and how it's trimmed and prepared. That's when you call it St. Louis ribs. So you've got the rib tips, you've got the ribs, and you've got all this overhang on pork spare ribs, and all you're going to do is trim all that, square it up, even it up, and that's where St. Louis ribs come from. So one important thing for this is a sharp knife, because you will be cutting through some bone and cartilage, and a dull knife will be worse than a sharp knife on something like this, and that's usually the case. You always want your knife sharp, because a dull knife can create lots of problems for you, especially when you have something like this going. So let's get into these ribs. All right, let's get into these ribs. We got flies. I live in the country and got flies everywhere, so do my best to keep them covered. So this is a rack of pork spare ribs. You can see these are where the ribs are. This is the part that we really want to focus on. This is what we're keeping. All this rib tips are going to get cut off, and we're going to square this up. We're going to trim this back a little bit, but it's all in the squareness of how this rib rack's going to look to call it St. Louis ribs. So one thing I like to do is square this up. Let me turn this around. We're basically, I'm going to go about right here. We're going to start and just go down this way, as straight as you can. As straight as you can go. I kind of like to score a line down like so, and then I'll just kind of press down. You can hear the crunch. That's okay. There we go. Here comes the flies. Here we go. So there's the first part. And this you're gonna smoke as well. These are snacks. We call this is all extra meat barbecue snacks, but you can see you can cut right through the bone and the cartilage, no problem with a sharp knife. This is good meat. We're not throwing that away. Now, I usually take a rib off of this side, and you can feel the rib here, then you got the meat, and then you got the rib. I like to go to the edge of this bone so we can keep some meat off on the bone that's gonna still be on there. So there we go. Another barbecue snack. Watch out for the flies. And then we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I usually 9 or 10 bone, but let's see. I'll take it to about right here. And there we go. There's a St. Louis style. And what I'll do to even this out a little bit, we're definitely going for presentation. There we go. And then what I like to do also is trim this off. You can see how sharp this knife is. Messermeister, that's what I use. That's all I use. Get some of this fat off. You don't got to take all the fat off, but it all won't render, so I like to take some off. There we go. So you don't need that on there. And then you can go a step further and take this membrane off, which I usually use paper towel. Man, these flies are relentless tonight. See that? You got the membrane. And when you're pulling this off, this allows the rub to get into the meat. With this membrane on, you can see the rub will not penetrate through that. And it'll, if you leave that on, it'll make for a chewier bite at the finished product. As you can see, that came off with one pull. There we go.